Hello and welcome to the Political Stock Exchange. India Today, Axis My India's exclusive election tracker that's tracking voter sentiment in the build-up to the big elections of 2019. We've gone through all the states over the last several weeks, but we are returning now to the states that are going to the polls in the next month.
11 weeks ago, we started with Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. Once again, we're coming back on the political stock exchange with just days to go for the first phase of polling in Chhattisgarh. This semi-final about to begin. What we'll show you on the political stock exchange is very innovative, very new. We're introducing the probability index. What is the probability of the sitting government returning to power? Based on the data that's been compiled for us by Axis My India, we worked with electoral statistician Rajdeep and he has given us a probability index. So we're not looking at vote share, not seat share, but we'll give you a sense of whether government is likely to come back to power or not.
That's right. And remember, there are 5 big governments which are going to decide their future over the next month. 4 of them are on our focus, on our radar today on the stock exchange. Whose stock is up? Who's down? Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana and Chhattisgarh. And to give us a sense of the numbers, we're joined by a very special panel on the political stock exchange, all of whom follow political stocks very closely. Yogendra Yadav of the Swaraj Abhiyan, but wearing his psephologist hat as much as that of a politician on our show. Also Dr. Sandeep Shastri, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Jain University, one of the country's leading political scientists with Lokniti CSDS. Also with us are 2 politicians, Amit Malviya of the BJP, Praveen Chakravarti, data analyst for the Congress party, and also our correspondents of India Today magazine, Rahul Narona in Bhopal, Rohit Pariyar in Jaipur.
So let's get started. We'll start with Madhya Pradesh in the first half hour, then we'll go to Rajasthan, then we'll have Telangana and finally Chhattisgarh.
Okay, let's go straight then into our deep dive into the pit. So the big first question, in that big battleground state of Madhya Pradesh, which as I said is critical perhaps in this round of elections, should the government return of Shivraj Singh Chauhan? Direct question posed by the India Today Axis My India poll. 42% are saying yes. The present government of Shivraj Singh Chauhan should get, the BJP should get a 4th term and Shivraj Singh Chauhan should be back. Government should change. In the India Today, Axis My India said government should change. The gap, therefore, is just 2%. 42% versus 40%. 18% are saying don't know, which means that this election could well be up in the air and that 18% don't know could make the crucial difference over the next couple of weeks. Madhya Pradesh going to the polls on the 28th of November. Based on that, Rajiv Karandikar of the Center for Mathematical Studies in Chennai, the psephologist, has tried to put these numbers in some context for us, and we asked him the probability of Shivraj Singh Chauhan returning. 52% is the probability index, just over halfway, which means it is a very close race in Madhya Pradesh. The probability is about 52%, only 2% over the halfway mark of Shivraj Singh Chauhan's government returning. Rajiv Karandikar, Dr. Rajiv Karandikar, give us a sense as to how you're assessing this 52% probability index. Perhaps for the first time on Indian TV, we are giving what is now being seen globally as perhaps a better way to measure elections, probability of being re-elected.
Yeah, so the 2% gap is amongst people who want the government back and those who don't. Now, it is not true that all those who want the government will vote for it. Likewise, not true that all who don't want will vote against it. It may be other factors such as local candidates, etc. But still, based on the detailed answers or detailed breakup, my assessment is that BJP should get between 1 and 5% votes more than Congress.
So let's just try and make sense of this probability index. Question number 1, why are we doing probability index? Because at this stage, putting out a seat share, to a certain extent, most psephologists will agree, is a bit of a mug's game. So what we're doing instead is trying to explain what can be explained and saying beyond this, we don't have the answers. And frankly, neither do the netas, unless they just want to appear more intelligent and smarter than they actually are. So first and foremost, Axis My India gave the data. Rajiv Karandikar worked on it. He's projected a 52% chance of the BJP winning a majority, which essentially means this will be a very closely fought election. The likely gap in the vote share between the BJP and the Congress is between 1 and 3%. That's the ultimate gap, which means that there will be a very, very tight fight. Now, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. Point number one, some places where the BJP wins, and if 42% want the BJP coming back in power, it includes urban pockets where the BJP tends to win with a big margin, which means electorally some of it is a wasted vote in a first past the post system. In urban pockets, BJP winning big, which means that the 40% of the Congress is quite powerful and not necessarily inferior to the 42% of the BJP. On rural seats, the margin is far more narrow, which is generally where the Congress is doing better. There the margin is narrow. Now, rebels in Madhya Pradesh are a big factor. Both parties have strong rebels, and these rebels are splitting votes across the state. The 2% lead that the BJP enjoys in this Access My India poll is not enough for comfort, which means between now and voting day, a lot can change in Madhya Pradesh. 28th of November is what we're counting down to. Then there is a lot of opposition disunity. Remember, our polls suggest that if the Congress and the BSP had formed an alliance, the chances of the opposition winning were actually far higher. Our polls suggest that the BSP is picking up about 6% of this vote across the state. A lot of it is coming from anti-BJP vote, which means that if the BSP and the Congress had fought together, they'd actually have done much better. Our poll also suggests that declaring Jyotiraditya Scindia as the chief ministerial candidate for the Congress would have helped the Congress party, as he's quite popular amongst the youth of Madhya Pradesh, and this 2% gap could have possibly been covered on the basis of his personal popularity. So a lot to think about for all parties in this data.
That's right. And therefore, Yogendra Yadav, would I be right in suggesting, based on a probability of this government coming back being 52% and the factors that Rahul just listed out, this is an election at this stage too close to call. This is an election which, much like Gujarat, dare I say a year ago, will be decided in the last stretch, in the last 15 days, as to who wins those marginal seats by ensuring a better campaign and ticket distribution.
Rajdeep, first a technical point and then a substantive point. Technically, I should compliment you for going for probability rather than trying to give definite forecasts, which most Indian channels do, which turns out to be pointless. I think we should move towards that. And who am I to question Professor Karandikar on probability? He knows infinitely more than I do on those subjects. But more substantively, let us remember that there are double risk in the exercise that you are taking here. One, there is a risk in forecasting election before the polls, because pre-election polls have tended to favor the ruling party. That's the track record in this country. The second risk that you run specially is, remember, in your poll, you are not asking people who they are going to vote for. You are simply asking them, should this government get another chance? Should it not get another chance? Now, as Rahul said, and as Professor Karandikar reminded, not everyone who says the government should get another chance actually votes for it. So there is a double guesstimate involved, so we should be very careful. On substantive front, what I did was to look up exactly this kind of survey exactly 5 years ago in Madhya Pradesh. In 2013, 1 month before the election, people of Madhya Pradesh were asked by CSDS the same question. Do you want to give this government another chance? At that time, the score was 53% said yes, Shivraj Singh should get another chance, the government, and only 20% said no, it should not get another chance. So 53-20 has today become 40-40. You draw your own conclusions. On popularity, 5 years ago, Shivraj's popularity in that poll was 44, but all Congress leaders put together were only 21. Today he's 44, but Congress leaders put together are 39. Draw your own conclusions. So what I'm saying is that the situation is very precarious. And when a statistician says 52% possibility, what it means is toss a coin, anything can happen.
Okay. Praveen Chakravarti, in the last few days before polling, it comes down to who's got more ammunition in their guns. And that's where we've seen in Gujarat, we've seen in Karnataka, it seemed as if the Congress was in the hunt, they had a chance, but then that's when Master Blaster Narendra Modi enters the field and takes the game away from you. Is there a fear that in Madhya Pradesh, this is what the BJP's own polling is also suggesting, it's a tight fight at this moment, but they're confident as their Master Blaster comes in, he'll change the game. Is that the fear, the shock and awe? He comes in at the last moment, starts smashing you all over the place, and then suddenly the Congress is searching for answers.
See, before I start, I don't have the details of the methodology and the sample size and all of that. I want to be careful that we're not over-interpreting and extrapolating too much from the available data. Second, I want to caveat all of what I'm going to say is there is a context to our own internal polling and surveys, which is perhaps 10 or 20 times larger in sample sizes. We go to almost every village. We've finished 40,000 villages in Madhya Pradesh. So that's the background and the context. Now the third is, there's something very, very, very important in generally data science and statistical analysis, which is trends are more important than levels. The trends are really what matters. If I look at the broad trends that you're presenting, in terms of satisfaction with the current government, or should this current government continue, it is clearly in only one direction, and that is downwards, right? So even if we have to take levels, the vote share difference in 2013 between the BJP and the Congress was 9%. Now, as per your polls, it's down to some 2% or whatever. So the trend is extremely clear. So this somewhat confirms with what we are finding ourselves, though we think the anti-incumbency, or rather what I call the anger against the incumbent government in Madhya Pradesh, is extraordinarily high as per our own findings. Then let's come to your Master Blaster and other cricket phrases.
Go on, complete.
There's echo.
Complete what you're saying, Praveen.
There's echo here.
Okay, let me for a moment take that then to Amit Malviya. Amit Malviya, what is being suggested by the Congress representative is that the trend is a downward trend, and therefore there is creeping anti-incumbency. That's the suggestion. Yes, you're ahead, but only marginally. And if these trends continue, then you could be facing a real uphill struggle in Madhya Pradesh. You'll need to do a Gujarat. You'll need to do a Karnataka, particularly Gujarat. Sorry. You'll need to do a Gujarat and pull this election in its last stretch.
Well, Rajdeep, first of all, the numbers that you've put out very clearly indicate that the BJP on all counts is in the lead, whether it is the popularity of the Chief Minister or that of the people wanting this government back.
Just 2% within the margin of error, and much below what it was in 2013 and even 2 months ago.
All right. Now, here is a government that's been in office for 15 years, and we should not forget that fact at all. And given the 15 years that they've been in office, everything seems to indicate that we are ahead. As far as the 2% gap is concerned, let me remind you that in all mature democracies where there are bipolar contests, the gap between the incumbent and the opposition is usually never too large. And even in a state like Madhya Pradesh, for a very long time, the Congress has been stagnant at about 35%. So it's not as if, they are making any big gains or dent. But the important thing, Rajdeep, here is that when you're talking about a government which has been in office for as long as it has been, and still you find that they are leading across segments, across social denominations, across urban and rural divide. And remember, Madhya Pradesh is largely rural except for big urban centers which are very few in numbers. It just tells you that the BJP has a great edge.
Most of the marginal seats are in rural Madhya Pradesh, and that is where the Congress could be making gains at your expense. That is your fear. You're doing well in urban
No,
Madhya
I
Pradesh.
don't agree.
Would you end up losing out in rural Madhya Pradesh?
I want to take you to your own survey, which seems to suggest that 78% of the respondents are actually from rural background.
Yes.
And if given the 78% from rural background, you're getting the kind of outcome that you are showing, it just simply indicates that there is a great deal of surge that the BJP is still witnessing in the state of Madhya Pradesh. And let me remind you, people in rural Madhya Pradesh are very politically aware. They know exactly what Shivraj Singh Chauhan has done for them, particularly because they are engaged in the profession of farming, and the government has seen a stupendous growth of as much as 18% in agriculture over the last few years.
So it's also seen rural distress. You and I can argue about that. There are good numbers and there are bad numbers when it comes to Madhya Pradesh. There is agriculture growth, there's also farmer suicide. Both have taken place in Madhya Pradesh, particularly in the last 12 to 18 months.
Is it your argument that this is only a localized phenomena to Madhya Pradesh? The answer is no. The question is that has Shivraj Singh done enough for the farmers? The answer is absolutely yes. Has he done enough for power sector, for infrastructure, for road, for education, for girl child? The answer to all that is definitive yes. And that is going to make the big difference.
Let's now come to the next set of questions we want to put up on our screen. This is in response to the question, who would the respondents in Madhya Pradesh like to see as the next chief minister? And what we'll do here is compare our first data set, which came out in September 2018, with the data that we're putting out now in November. So in September, 46% of the respondents said they wanted Shivraj Singh Chauhan as chief minister. Now that's down to 44. That is still 2% more than the number who want his government back, which means there is greater anti-incumbency against his ministers, against his MLAs, than there is against Mamaji himself. Let's come to Jyotiraditya Scindia. This is where the Congress really needs to apply its mind. Jyotir was at 32% in September. 28% of the respondents now want him as chief minister. He is still the preeminent choice. And our data suggests that had Jyotiraditya Scindia been projected very clearly as chief minister, the Congress would have done even better. This 2% gap could have been covered. Then there is Kamal Nath. To his credit, Kamal Nath's managed to go up from 8% to 10%, but he's still about 1/3 Jyotiraditya's popularity. Add the both of them, you then have a fairly formidable 40% combination. You have 28% and 10%, 38%, less than Shivraj Singh Chauhan, but a stronger candidate. Kamal Nath is up 2% from September. Then there is Digvijay Singh. He's actually down from 2% to 1%, but he's not being seen as a real contender, and therefore the 1% is fairly inconsequential because he's not really in the race. Then there is Uma Bharti. She's at 1%. She was very upset the last time, so I just want to clarify to Umadi that this is the people who said they want you as chief minister. We're not giving any names. So we're not saying, do you want Uma Bharti, yes or no. 1% of the respondents themselves said that they wanted Uma Bharti as chief minister. It's rather cut up the last time, so I just thought we'll build in that caveat. Let's now very quickly come to the next question. This is about an alliance between the BSP and the Congress. Will an alliance between the BSP and the SP hurt the Congress's fortunes? 24% say yes, 21% say no, 55% say they have no clue. That is interesting. 55% saying they don't know what the impact of this alliance will be. Last question. Will upper caste vote ditch the BJP? Will the BJP be hit by all this unrest that we're seeing in Madhya Pradesh amongst the upper caste? In response to that question, 22% are saying yes, 27% are saying no, but a bigger number, 51%, are saying they don't know. So on both those questions, the larger percentage saying they don't know. I want to go across to Praveen Chakravarti on the question of projecting Jyotiraditya Scindia. Data suggests projecting Jyotir as chief minister, like you did with Amrinder Singh in Punjab, would have probably helped the Congress make this an even tighter fight. You would have probably been in the lead had Jyotir been projected.
No, this is a completely naive interpretation of the data and as well as questions. I think the question that should have been asked is, would a chief ministerial candidate have mattered for you deciding to vote for the Congress party or not? That is really the first question that should have been asked. So there's a lot of presumption here that there is, people do vote based on who the chief ministerial candidate is and others. We've done our own surveys, and I can share this much with you. Three quarters of all those that said that they will vote for the Congress party said it does not matter who will be the chief ministerial candidate as long as the party chooses one post the elections. So let us caveat a lot of this with some of the numbers that you are throwing out. So I contest this claim that is constantly dished out.
Praveen, let me take that to Rahul Narona, who's on the ground. Rahul, do you think that there is this an election where it matters who's the Congress's chief ministerial face, given the reports on the ground of the infighting that's taken place between Scindia and Digvijay Singh in particular over tickets? Is there a sense that the Congress is united, or is it a disunited front as it has been in the past? There's a sense that the Congress is always its worst enemy in a state like Madhya Pradesh. Too many chiefs, too few workers.
Rajdeep, this election, interestingly, Congress has possibly put up the most united front it has in the, if you compare it to the last few elections. Now coming back to the issue of whether they should have declared a chief ministerial candidate or not, that matters more if the incumbent was an unpopular guy. But Shivraj Singh Chauhan is still maintaining a certain amount, a massive popularity, as is shown in our survey too. It would not have helped the Congress at this point of time, or even earlier, or even maybe a week before the election like they did in Punjab, to declare a chief ministerial candidate. Because if that were to happen, Shivraj is waiting for this opportunity. He would turn this into a presidential form of contest where he is the Kisan Putra pitted against the Maharaja, maybe pitted against an Udyogpati, and then we all know what happens at the end of that.
That's an interesting way to look at it. The other point, of course, which Rahul brought out there is the BSP. You know, it is seen as the X factor, Dr. Sandeep Shastri. You know, it doesn't get a lot of percentage of votes. When I look at it last time in 2013, it was they got 4 seats with 6.29%. But there is a concentrated vote in some parts, particularly bordering Uttar Pradesh and Bundelkhand in the Chambal region, where they've won seats and where they get double-digit votes. Do you believe that that could be critical in a marginal election, much like in Gujarat, where you saw the smaller parties and independents spoil the Congress's game in certain marginal seats?
Rajdeep, though we have maintained for some time that Madhya Pradesh is a bipolar contest, given the fact that the polls suggest a very, very close difference between the BJP and the Congress, I think the presence of this third force, the BSP, does make a difference. And let's also concede the point that the BSP would be garnering the anti-BJP, the anti-incumbency vote. And therefore, a split of that vote between the Congress and BSP could actually cost the Congress a little dearly in this election. Let me also quickly, Rajdeep, make 2 more points which are, I believe, important in the discussion we have had till now. While I also compliment Rajiv Karandekar on the estimates that he has made, I think 2 points need to be budgeted in. Madhya Pradesh has seen a very strong expression by voters of unhappiness with sitting MLAs. So I think who is going to get the ticket in this election is going to be extremely critical. Secondly, the fact that the Congress did not declare a chief ministerial candidate, as your correspondent on the ground said, may not be a critical factor. But the fact of infighting within the Congress, the way Congress leadership, the leaders have been going out at each other, I think may actually impact on the party. And if there is something that could make a difference, I think it's these 2 critical factors. In the case of the BJP, the choice of its candidates. Okay. In the case of the Congress, the apparent infighting that is seen in the party.
So before we wrap up Madhya Pradesh, I want to ask Yogendra Yadav about what could change between now and polling day. This poll suggests Madhya Pradesh at this time on a knife's edge, 52% versus 48%. There's really very little to say, which means the Congress also in with the chance. Now the question is, what can change? Because Narendra Modi hasn't been campaigning in Madhya Pradesh yet. Once he goes in, how much of a difference can his presence make? We're already hearing from pollsters they've started budgeting in the Modi effect. How in Rajasthan, we'll see that in a while. Vasundhara Raje by herself would be at a certain percentage. When Modi comes in, that percentage changes. What can change, Yogendra Yadav, according to you, between now and polling day?
Rahul, the question of change assumes that we know where we are right now. I would once again alert, once again warn everyone, we are looking at a telephonic survey. Now remember, a telephonic survey in Madhya Pradesh is likely to exclude some people at the bottom. And in a telephonic survey, they are only being asked whether this government should get another chance or not. From that to conclude, and in fact most of the commentators were talking as if we are looking at vote share figures, we are not. While someone who says this government should not get a chance is in all likelihood going to vote against it, but someone who says yes, it should get a chance, over the years the experience has been that at least 10-15% of them do not go and vote for the government. So let's be very careful about where we are, about what can change. Do remember, currently it is the marketing season for Kharif. The government has made huge promises. Farmers are going to market every day and discovering that all those great promises of MSP have not been realized. So that indeed can go against the government. There is the campaign effect, but I personally think we tend to overrate the campaign effect. On personality, I would say just one thing. Please ask yourself, who is the Congress leader who has worked as opposition in the last 5 years to the BJP? The answer is no one. So Congress has not been there for the last 5 years in opposition. So we are really looking at BJP defeating itself rather than Congress winning this election.
You know, and you've also got, Rahul, 18% don't know. And you said there is infighting, and we keep saying infighting in the Congress. But interestingly, in Madhya Pradesh, there's also been a battle within the BJP, which is why they've had to delay even ticket lists. Kailash Vijay Vargiya versus Sumitra Mahajan in Indore. So you've got the Congress infighting, BJP infighting, 18% in our own survey saying don't know. So I think it's going to be those 30-40 marginal seats again, which could make all the difference. Having said that, if you look at the margins in the past, even with a 4 to 6% vote difference, the BJP has tended to do much better than the Congress party. So I think the Congress party has to work much harder than it has so far. Yogendra is right. This is like Maharashtra, where the Congress party expects the BJP to score the self-goals without doing anything itself. And I think that's the reason why Madhya Pradesh has tended to swing towards the BJP, and Shivraj is a popular leader. I mean, there is anti-incumbency against his sitting MLAs, and I think maybe the BJP has dropped, Amit Malviya may tell us better, dropped all too few MLAs. Just 27 were dropped in the first two lists.
The BJP poll suggested, their own poll suggested that they should have dropped 120 MLAs out of the 163.
I think that is the one problem
we spoke to senior BJP leaders. You can't drop 120 MLAs.
You can't drop 120, but I'm surprised that they've only dropped 27 in that first two lists. A few more have been dropped today, but not enough in my view.
But I have a theory of my own. My theory, Rajdeep, is this, that if it is a tight fight, in the way that the BJP and the Congress are structured this time, it is advantage BJP.
I would tend to agree with you.
Because the Congress's ability to pull their voters out. If it's a sweep, you know, and if the Congress is winning handsomely, or like the AAP one in Delhi, then there's nothing all these Panna Pramukhs and Pran Pracharaks.
The only reason I'm again looking at it in Gujarat is rural distress. Madhya Pradesh, I know Amit Malviya is right. Agriculture growth rates in Madhya Pradesh have been good. Shivraj has made an effort to reach out to farmer communities. He's seen as a Kisan Putra. But rural distress is a reality. If that reality translates into votes, the Congress has a slight advantage. If it is based, as you said, on a tight election based on local factors,
pulling 6%
with Mayawati pulling votes, I would say then the BJP has a clear edge, which is why we are putting our money in our pockets, I think, and saying it's too close to call. We've done Madhya Pradesh, which we've said BJP slight edge, but too close to call. The last few weeks could make a difference. Now we're switching to the south of the country, to Telangana. That's right. K. Chandrasekhar Rao chose to go for an early election. And has the gamble worked or not? India Today, Axis My India poll saying for Telangana. We ask the question, who should form the next government? Do you want this government to be returned to power? 44% are saying yes, KCR's government should return to power. 44% are saying yes, the government should return. 34% are saying no, it should not return. This was in a direct question. Do you want KCR's government again in power? So there's a 10% gap, which perhaps is giving the KCR government an edge. Don't know is 22%, which is again a reasonably high amount when you ask that question. What is the probability index, therefore, that Rajiv Karandikar of the Chennai Mathematical Institute is predicting for a KCR government, TRS government to return? 75%. 75%, a very high probability that KCR will beat anti-incumbency and become a chief minister for the second time. Let's listen in to what Dr. Rajiv Karandikar has to say. Why are you saying as high as 75% for a KCR government again?
For an incumbent chief minister, 44% wanting him to be back, the government to be back, is a very strong endorsement. And the gap between those who want him back and those who don't, there is a 10%. That's a huge gap. And that just portrays that there is not only no anti-incumbency, there is a positive signal for the KCR, and he should be back with a high chances.
Let's just take a moment to explain the probability analysis. A 75% chance. There's a 3 and 4 probability of KCR coming back to power, which essentially statistically means it's game over for the opposition pretty much, which means that there is a strong pro-incumbency backing KCR. People clearly like the work that he's done and they want the man back in power, and they're very, very clear about it. Remember, this poll was done between the 22nd of October and the 6th of November. It doesn't fully capture any impact of a Congress-TDP alliance, but the data that we've picked up from the ground suggests it's unlikely to have much of an impact on the results in this election. KCR is leading across all segments of population, across all demographics, urban, rural, male, female, young, old. KCR is winning in every segment of the population. Assuddin Owaisi's presence hurts the Congress in the Hyderabad region. His party, very, very localized, but it's hurting the Congress over there. It's the social welfare schemes of KCR that seem to have helped his government register a strong level of popularity. And advancing the election seems to be a bit of a masterstroke by K. Chandrasekhar Rao, because if these elections had happened earlier, some of the benefit accruing from the social welfare schemes could have potentially got split between the BJP and KCR, and the Narendra Modi factor would have also come into play. By advancing the elections, he's given himself a bigger lead, which is not to say he would have lost if the elections had happened in April, May, but he's given himself a bigger lead and a greater level of comfort than if the elections had happened at the time of the Lok Sabha elections.
Sandeep Shastri, what does that mean? Is there a limit to alliance arithmetic? Congress tying up with TDP, some thought this might give them some kind of a chance in Telangana, given the margins that existed last time. TDP had about 14% in alliance with the BJP, so they have about a 10% vote in certain parts. It's even higher of Telangana. But do you believe this is an alliance which at the end of the day will actually help KCR to again play the Telangana card? A party which is seen as an Andhra party tying up with the Congress. Will it help KCR to that extent? Has KCR played his cards right and the Congress perhaps gone for broke in aligning with Chandrababu Naidu in Telangana?
Rajdeep, I would agree with the final point you made. I think the TDP's being perceived as a party which was not in favor of Telangana is going to work against the party. And also let's remember, this alliance is coming quite late in the day. If this alliance had been for quite some time, possibly at the ground level there could have been some effort done to build up a anti-TRS coalition. A second point we need to bear in mind in the state of Telangana is, this is the first assembly election in Telangana after the state has been formed. So I think in that sense, the voter of the state giving credit to a party which played a major role in the formation of that state, I think is likely to be there. And third and last, I think both for the Congress and for the BJP, they are not looking at this assembly election, but they are looking at next year's Lok Sabha election as to which of them is going to position themselves as the real rival to the TRS.
You know, Praveen Chakravarti, has the Congress in a sense put all its eggs in Chandrababu Naidu's basket now, both in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana? Because there are parts of Telangana, Warangal, Karimnagar, where there will be strong Telangana sentiment now. On the other hand, you also have, as Rahul pointed out, Owaisi, you know, who in the Hyderabad area will get his 7 seats, but will also look in some way to perhaps take away Congress vote. So, do you agree the Congress is on the back foot? You haven't even announced your tickets. KCR is announcing his tickets. He's already campaigning for the last month. The Congress is playing catch-up in Telangana.
First, I think you have to be consistent. If you think announcing tickets early is an advantage, then you should have given us that advantage in Madhya Pradesh. Just saying. I mean, I'm not. I'm just being a little jovial about it. Let's come to Telangana. I think this is some of the points that were made earlier. There's some important differences in this terms Vidhan Sabha election in Telangana. This is the first time the Vidhan Sabha election will be held standalone, not with the Lok Sabha election in the state of Telangana or earlier United Andhra Pradesh, for the first time in nearly 3 cycles, 15 years. Second, our analysis very, very clearly shows that there is tremendous arithmetic gains with the TDP alliance. The districts where we are perhaps not as strong are exactly the areas where the TDP is strong. And districts where we are very strong are the areas where TDP is not strong. So the arithmetic is actually playing out very well from a TDP alliance perspective. That's number two. Number three, even at the peak after the Telangana announcement was made, even at the peak in 2014, did you know that if we assume that the TDP votes do stay and can transfer to an alliance, back then, the Congress TDP alliance would have won a majority? So we must, I fully agree that they may not entirely transfer in entirety, but to dismiss it as, oh, it's not going to have an impact on the ground is completely wrong.
Amit Malviya, is this a missed opportunity for the BJP? Amit Shah often speaks of how Telangana is a state that's fertile for the BJP to bloom in. However, the poll shows not really in the race. Could you have done better? Where did you go wrong?
Well, Rahul, first of all, we have to understand that Telangana, for the first time after the separation, is going to poll for an assembly election. Now, the story of this election is going to be the rise of the BJP. There have been no indicators to suggest, even in your survey, how the BJP is doing. And you will find that the vote share of the BJP is going to rise tremendously. Now, it could also be the case that we could have a very strong influence on the government that gets formed in Telangana. But we will wait for the 11th December for this.
So your best case scenario is a fractured verdict where you will then decide, you hope to play kingmaker, is it? There is this buzz that you actually are a B team in a way of the TRS. Owaisi is a B team. All of you could come together in some kind of magic alliance post the election. Is that what you're looking at? Well, you're not looking at power surely in Telangana.
Well, Rajdeep, like I said, we'll have a very strong influence on the government that gets formed in Telangana, and you could look at it in various ways.
Only in Hyderabad and areas around Hyderabad, but nothing outside that.
Let me strong influence in the government that will get formed.
Yes. The point that I'm making is important, unless you don't want to listen to it.
Yes.
The important story there in Telangana is going to unfold not now, but over the next 5-6 months, when the Lok Sabha election starts to roll out, and the build-up into that is where the Telangana and Andhra story is going to come. The Congress, by aligning with the TDP, has effectively ruled themselves out, not just in the state of Telangana, but also in Andhra. Because let's not forget the imageries of just 5 years ago, when the statues of Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi were kicked and pulled around in the states of Telangana and Andhra, and that's a reality.
Yogendra Yadav,
so this is basically harakiri, but you know, they are quite used to doing it now, and we will gain on that. And again, I reiterate myself, the BJP will have a very strong influence on the government that gets formed in Telangana.
I ask you directly, will you support a TRS government?
We will be on our own, and we'll have a great influence on the government.
Support KCR?
There is no question of supporting TRS. Why should we support the TRS?
Yogendra Yadav, if we decode what Amit Malviya is saying, he essentially means, without saying this, that they're giving up on the assembly elections for all practical purposes. They are focusing on the Lok Sabha elections, where they believe Modi's popularity will be a factor. They believe there the BJP will do much better. 75% probability of KCR coming back to power. Does it mean game over in Telangana for the opposition? And why do you think KCR is as popular as he is?
Too early to assume that the game is over. As I said earlier, because our key question is, do you want this government back? 44-34 is the answer we are getting. Someone who says they do not want a ruling party to come back is surely going to vote against them. But someone who says he wants them to come back is not necessarily voting for them. That's the something that we have observed over the years. On the more substantive thing, I think my friends are right in saying that Congress has played its cards on the Andhra-Telangana issue so badly, so poorly, that they got no credit in Telangana and they got all the blame in Andhra Pradesh. On top of it, to align with TDP, I'm not sure. I mean, you can look at last elections and try and put the votes together, but that's not the dynamic situation on the ground. If you align with TDP largely for gains in Andhra Pradesh, To my mind, it may have negative repercussions in Telangana, where memories of TDP opposing the formation of the state have not receded. The state is still emotionally charged about, how Telangana was formed, with struggle, with blood and sweat. And in that, TDP's memory is probably not a great memory. I'm not surprised with what the polls are saying, because that's in line with what we have heard so far. I'm not quite clear about what's happening to Congress's other alliance with Telangana Jana Samiti, which was actually a very strong component of the pro-Telangana movement, and which could have washed Congress's sin in a sense. But that seems to have disappeared, that part of the story.
Very quickly then, Praveen Chakravarti, why this alliance with Chandrababu? Is it an alliance built out of necessity? Yeah. Why this alliance with Chandrababu? There may be parts of the state with a large population of Andhrites which may help you, Hyderabad area, possibly in Khammam, possibly in the border areas with Andhra. But do you concede that it's again a big risk you've taken? The Congress, according to the BJP, is going to commit harakiri here. You are effectively committing harakiri in a way for possible short-term uncertain gains.
Yeah, see, I want to actually, with due apologies to Professor Yogendra Yadav, I will say that some of the decisions that regarding alliances have been backed by empirical work that we ourselves have done. It is not like we did not do our own work and surveys and large sample surveys and ask people whether to find out whether the anger, the so-called anger against the Telugu Desam for opposing Telangana still persists. Is it still very high? Is the alliance beneficial or not? So we are not talking from out of nowhere. We do have some empirical backing for a lot of these alliance work. So I will certainly contest that statement that there is still a lot of anger for the formation of the state. The second is with regards to the other alliance partners. I think those discussions are very, very much on. You will soon hear announcements. So let us not jump to any conclusions before announcements are made. Should the announcements, could the announcements have been made earlier? Sure, I admit to that, yes. Earlier, the better. But then the alliance with Mr. Chandrababu Naidu is not limited to Telangana. You all saw that Mr. Naidu was in Delhi. He met the UPA chairperson and the Congress president. So it is a much larger strategy that we are talking about, not merely certain districts of Telangana.
Okay, let's now take a look at who people in the state of Telangana want to see as their next chief minister. So let's just take our viewers through that. Who do they want as chief minister post the 11th of December? When we pose this question, no surprises, K. Chandrasekhar Rao leads the pack. But what is interesting is his popularity has actually gone up from the time we did the survey the first time in September 2018, when it was 43% to 46% now. So KCR's popularity up 3% over the last 2 months. Uttam Kumar Reddy, former housing minister from Huzur Nagar, he's the MLA leading the Congress's fortunes in the state. He's up from about 18% in September to 25%. That's interesting because his fortunes have gone up 7% over the past 2 months. Then there is G. Kishan Reddy. He is the BJP leader. He was at 15% in 2018 September. He's now at 16%. So his fortunes up 1%, not very substantially. Then the alliance that everyone was talking about, which could have made a bit of a difference. K. Kodandram, the former political analyst, now has his own party, currently in a tie-up with the CPM. He's gone up from 6% to 7%. There were attempts being made to bring him on board on the Congress ticket, make it a one large opposition alliance. It hasn't happened yet. Our polls has counted this separately. If, as Praveen Chakravarti suggests, the alliance could happen, things could change. As of now, our data doesn't suggest it. Then there is Asuddin Owaisi, who was at 4%. He's got his own firm, unmoving support base. He was 4% earlier, he's 4% now. You know, Rajdeep, you should tell your friend Owaisi, if he tied up with the Congress, if he actually believes the BJP is a problem, he would have held them. If they'd actually come together, they may have done better.
Look, Mr. Owaisi, you know, is a tiger on television, but at the end of the day, he has his 7 seats in and around Hyderabad. I don't think he's going to make much of a difference. I think this clearly shows It's K. Chandrasekhar Rao versus the rest. That's the gamble he's played.
But there also there's a split.
No, I think what he's gone and done, Rahul, and that's why he took an early poll. He wanted to make this presidential or quasi-presidential within the Telangana context. If it was linked to Lok Sabha, national factors would have come in. He's tried to make this a state election, and he remains 20% more than any other candidate who is, a potential viable chief ministerial contender. And that's why I think he has the advantage, despite charges of family rule, of nepotism, even of corruption at the local level. I think that's the advantage he has. Anger against local MLAs is what I'm told does exist. But I think KCR has played his cards reasonably well for now.
If there's a 75% chance of your government coming to power, most netas would take it, and there advancing the elections has been a smart move by K. Chandrasekhar Rao.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.